Hi, guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Global Money News Review. My name is Ola. I'm the founder of olaoladley.com and the Money With Club. And basically, what we do every week is that we have these sessions where we discuss what's happening in the news in the past week and how it affects your pockets. So, if you're someone that has been shocked by the economy in the past couple of years, then these sessions are for you. Today is mighty special because we have someone in the house, our personal professor, if I dare call him that. His name is Tony. He's a he's a pension fund manager. He's an experienced pension fund manager, and he has a very firm grip of the market. I'm always excited to have him here. So, hi Tony, welcome,
Hi, Ola. Thank you for having me and Happy New Year.
and happy New Year to you too. So we go right into it. So this year has started off interesting, right? Things are already happening. And I guess that's even the first thing to note. Whilst we are still dragging our feet and trying to wake up from dirty December versions, depending on where you are in the world, um, life is already happening. Like the year has already started. So wake up, wake up, wake up. And that's what this session is for. Um, We'll start with Nigeria news, right? So where Nigeria, the central bank introduced a diaspora-focused account to boost remittances. So Tony, I want to hear your thoughts on it in terms of um, why are they doing this? What is the end game for this account?
So I think that, so we are aware of the various sorts of reforms that have been going on. Some would look like well thought out, some will look like knee jerk reactions to developments in the space. Uh, but this looks like another initiative that is supposedly supposed to, be sustainable. The idea, to my mind, is to create an alternative for regular inflow. So at the moment, there could be trust deficits, which probably could make it not as impactful. But over time, when things are stable, I see the channel for growth in that space. So, what exactly are they trying to do? Nigerians in diaspora who, so I mean, they are talking about two separate accounts, right? So, for those of us who are living in Nigeria, maybe you have one or two people abroad who also have those accounts, domiciliary accounts. Right now, you're sort of creating domiciliary accounts specifically for Nigerians in the diaspora, such that as you make your monthly income, as part of your investment outlets, you are thinking of bringing that, back to Nigeria. Uh, and then you created one for naira, one one for investments, and then one for savings. So the idea is you create a channel where constantly there is that flow of money, coming in. And I think the other side of it now is for the sell side to then create the products that are attractive enough to continue to attract those monies. But I see the thinking behind it, and I think it's it's net positive at the end of the day in terms of remittances and forex flow to Nigeria.
Yeah, so I like the fact that I like what you mentioned in terms of creating a structure, right? And a lot of times, what we have found in the past is that these things have been haphazard. People randomly transfer money. People don't have, there's no process around it. So, what they have done or what they are trying to do is to establish a system where if you want to do stuff with Nigeria, there is a clear cut way to do so. And I agree that in the long run is good for everyone. But we'll now flip to the other side of it. Okay, so what do you think about adoption? Would you, as a Nigerian living in Canada, after jackpotting from this place called Nigeria, and as an individual, right? Because it's very important. Corporates take more risk, but as an individual, um, would you actually move en masse into Nigeria and say, okay, I'm going to have a cash flow account and an investment account in Nigeria, the same way I would have anywhere in the world? Like, would you as an individual? And I want to hear from people listening also in the comments, would you really do that?
Okay, so I mean, I like the question, and to remember in my first intro to this, I said there could be trust deficit at the beginning, right? I expect this policy to transcend this administration.
Yes,
So, what will then become the catalyst will be experiences of those who will make the leap. So those
initially.
those who have the trust will take the first dip, and you will learn from what they've done, right? So it will be for, I mean, you asked a question around corporates may take those risks, will individuals do? But if you lift the veil of corporates, there are individuals behind them.
Behind them.
And then, so what you find is that if you are able to take that decision as a corporate, more likely family and friends around those individuals may be willing to take that dip. Family and friends around those in government, if they are sure that what they are doing is realistic, will take that dip. And so you would find the early adopters, and then you find the mass that will come, and then laggards down the line who will say, okay, it looks as if I am missing the bus. Something is actually happening. So it behoves on the government and the policymakers to ensure that execution is spot on. I mean, there could be teething issues, but once you
Issues.
can get that right, again, like I said, in the long term, I see the thinking, sustainability. So, what's very, very important is for them to create a framework around it such that it doesn't go, sour, and then you can begin to get more adopters.
Very valid. Very, very valid. And we have a listener here, CN, and is asking where will the diaspora deposit be held, in Nigeria or offshore? Of
Okay,
course,
so I
it's
mean,
Nigeria.
good question. I mean, I'm not sure too many people, as much as there's no belief there's not as much belief in the government yet, and all of that. Like I said, all of these things. Let's take a if you
Longer
like,
term.
yeah, and then be able to say we've got euro bonds in here. You live abroad, you probably earn half or less than the yield on the euro bond. And I think again, there's also that conversation around being able to galvanize local investors and maybe Nigerians in diaspora
Diaspora.
to sort of cause that stability that you need away from hot money,
Yes.
because it hurts
Yes.
the economy in the long run.
Yeah.
So if you think about it from those perspectives, you tend to like, I see a sense in this. And so what you are doing, most like, I mean, they haven't given the full what is it called, but if you look at the domestic dollar bond that was issued, so if that even helps to deal with the retail side of things, because on the eurobond side, you need some sort of
Some
mass to be
mass,
to,
yeah.
to, able to do that. But at least there's another outflow that you can use in doing this. So this is like a an
A
improvement
creating a system. Yeah.
from the savings bond that has been done. So I mean, people do not realize that you put your money in the bank and you are getting sub 10%, and you are doing a savings bond and you are getting close to 20%. I mean, you'll be shocked that some people still don't know that sort of investment exists, and it
Exists.
pays you quarterly, and they won't default on that anyway. So even for your naira side of your flow, there's outlets, and there's an opportunity of creating something like that with the dollar side. So you've got the retail bond dollar, retail bond naira, that you can tap into and be able to have the returns that surpasses what you get even in those climes. So there's it's something to think about.
Okay. Fantastic. So I think the direct answer to CN is that yes, it will be deposited in Naira in the country, right? Because that's the essence of it. It's actually going to be deposited in the country, not offshore. It's the Nigerian government you're dealing with here, and Nigerian banks, right? Of course, because if the central bank is giving out a policy, their mode of implementation will be the banks under their purview, which will be Nigerian banks. So definitely it will be in Nigeria. But in fairness to us as a nation and how we've done things in the past, you probably will be given more priority or higher priority than a local who has a domiciliary account. That's literally how it usually happens. So just to give people comfort, there will probably be that kind of, there will most likely, not even probably, be that kind of comfort where if you do this thing and take a bet on them, you'll probably be seen as priority over someone who has a domiciliary account in terms of response time, in terms of access to your funds and stuff like that. Of course, you have to be guided about the bank you're using because that is also a part of it. And the next thing, let's move on. In Nigeria, call rates are going to go up, right? And this is something that I've been clamoring for. No, I haven't been clamoring for, but I mean, the telcos have been clamoring for a while. And the minister has finally approved, right? So what are your thoughts on it? Is it good for us? Who is it good for? Who is it bad for? Let's hear.
I'm not sure people will like me at this point, but I am innately an investor. And if I have invested in either of the listed telcos, I am concerned about sustainability. I know at one point in the club, there's been that conversation where you met with one of the execs of the telco, and they showed you clearly where, I mean, where they can see that they're being placed, on the chopping board. So clearly, this has been coming for a while. I think at the corporate event held by one of them in Abuja, 2023 October, the minister was actually there, and this was one of the requests on the table. So they've held on for a while, and today we've seen that even the government had engaged KPMG, who had given an idea as to one thing that is certain is, look, there has to be an increase, and
Adjustment.
except we are just burying our heads in the sand, energy cost has gone up significantly. Inflation is killing everyone and everything. And then you expect these guys to still hold the.
Stay
I mean,
flat.
it's just not terrible. I think the only conversation here is by how much. I think that's the conversation. And they have requested for 100%. The minister has guided between 30 and 50%. So the market should expect something, within that. So at a minimum, 30% based on the minister's pronouncement, at a maximum 50% or somewhere in between. So clearly not what telcos have requested for, but I also think that even for the telcos, um, that was supposed to be a bargaining chip.
Cheap. Fantastic. So, I mean, even in terms of us as Nigerians, right? Sometimes you have to pull back from what we want in terms of spending. Like, okay, we want things to be cheap, and what we really want in terms of we need something to work. I dare say that telecoms and telcos are the backbone of the economy right now. The same way you
Correct.
can't do without banks, the same way you can't do without telcos anywhere in the world right now.
That's why we're even
First of
talking
all,
now.
yes, for exactly, right? So I mean, whilst we don't want those prices to go up, the fact is, how really do you want to run a business and not adjust prices in 10 years plus? Like how? Especially in a hyperinflationary environment like Nigeria. And we have seen how all the prices have increased significantly, direct to pockets. So, from a sustainability and a value perspective, it's a good thing. However, my question to you on the back of this, does this mean that call drop would stop and our data will become more sustainable or more reliable? Is there a promise of that? Because if there's not, and if I'm paying more for suboptimal value, then it becomes a problem.
So I think probably that's where we would need the regulator
To step.
to step up, and we will need also the rights group to step up. So you've asked for this, excuse me, and we've been able to accede to your request. Maybe not fully, but then there's minimum quality standards that should then be set, and then probably also even include a mechanism for restitution. If you are not able to give me
Exactly.
this, then have some cost to bear, so that there's something as motivation for the telcos as well to step up their game.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very valid. There needs to be, it can't be on both, on one side, right? They need to step up. They legitimately need to step up, and that's something that we all agree on. Now, before we go into global news, I want to just announce that we are having a free webinar on where and how to invest in 2025. It's powered by the Money Meet Club. So if you or your friends or someone around you is looking for how to invest in 2025, how to get started with investing, oh, somebody like we were Tony already said that, oh, that he's primarily an investor. Okay, how do I start, right? Then please sign up. The link is in the description below. Sign up and we'll see you there. It's on the 1st of February 2025. Yeah. And so we move on.
What's the
um
time?
Oh, it's 6 p.m. GMT plus one, right? But then it's important to note that especially because it's driven by the Money with Club, we cover investments across the world, right? GBP, USD, Canadian. So wherever you are in the world, you can actually dial in. You can also share with your friends. They will draw value from it. Yeah, thanks for asking that question. Now let's go to global news, right? This one I found quite interesting. So China discusses the sale of TikTok to Elon Musk, one of the possible options. Now, for those that don't know, I would like to have like a little background of what's this whole TikTok sale competition. I mean, we've discussed it extensively in the club, but for those that don't know, just give us a little background, and then what do you think the possible impact? Because it also has to be approved by the government. But what do you think the possible impact of this will be?
Okay, so maybe I mean we'll track back a little bit. So in Trump's first time as I think as for the fifth president, we know that he was. I mean, there were trade wars, and his major target was China. Still is in his second coming, and we've also
Seen as second
seen
coming.
yes, and we've also seen how there are changes in rhetorics and actions by corporates and governments around the world, in preparation of his second coming. I mean, I dare say that is one person that has been able to move people, very 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 quickly because they know is. I mean, he doesn't have time for those
Yeah, backing around.
yeah, so he wants you to get those things done, and I think that's what's going on because if you've had these um, conversations with him before, he knows he's not coming back at this time. So if he does whatever he wants to do now, he would eventually go ahead and push that to the end. So Biden has come to say they will leave that to him to handle. But I think there's one important part in all of this. The Supreme Court has guided that they will enforce the ban. Clearly meaning that if it is the will of the government to do, then that will happen. And so I think that the guys at ByteDance, which are the owners of TikTok, are saying to themselves, would you rather wait and get nothing, or you can salvage whatever it is that you can salvage from
Like
this by selling
making.
to Musk. But then, I mean, there's another thing that comes out of that for me. Musk, aside being a friend of the president, aside being a backer in terms of his money, uh, I mean, some it's all the whole thing can be funny because I mean, there's some parts of it that looks like conflict of interests, and all of that is playing around. But yeah, it's America. It will pass. If it is here, I'm sure we will not be hearing anything else but the fact that political practices are
Yeah,
going on. But
yeah,
yeah, the guys are offering it to Musk and are already pitching on the side that X, formerly Twitter, will benefit from the loads of, and then of course Musk is into AI, XAI right now, and then about the fact that there's some benefits that will come there. So it's a carrot being dangled in front of Musk, and I think Musk is also a very shrewd businessman. It's something that he can likely take up. So at the end of the day, for those guys, win-win. It won't be something that they would really love, but lose the U.S. market, hold the other markets, and then probably leave to fight another day post Trump.
yes, yes. But a little bit of background for everyone that is listening. So, the real issue here is that US government is saying that TikTok is a problem to their national security. Why? Because it's a Chinese company and they have over 100 million US users, and America is just 300 million people, right? So they are like, as it is right now, it is gathering. TikTok has so much data that they can conveniently feed to the Chinese government about the US people, and so it's a matter of national security not to have TikTok have so much access to their people. That is literally what this is about. Um, whether there's a business side to it, whether there is a conflict of whatever side to it, whether it's as actually the game from the get go to bring it to American soil, we don't know. But that's what the issue is right now. And so even the Supreme
Quick
Court.
question. Quick
Go ahead.
question.
Yeah.
If TikTok was owned by a business in the UK, would that be the position of the US government?
So it may not be. Why? Because they are NATO allies. But you also know that they still have those spy things jumping around randomly that come up
Yes, of course,
intermittently, right?
of course.
But I mean, that's why I say that that's the story. It's one of those things where that whole trust, the trade war thingy, there's so much data on Americans that are out there. China can influence America easily. Those are the things that they are thinking about. So it's actually because of the country that they are coming from. So this is where political risk trumps you as a business, right?
Geopolitics,
This is, yeah, that's literally it. So I
which
mean,
is the
for all
biggest risk this year.
exactly, with the change, with the significant change in the US government, it's a really significant change, not just a change in leadership, but a significant change in leadership. So, I mean, it's part of the drama that we'll be looking out to see how it unfolds. Now, the second thing, right? Popping into sort of dovetailing from the question that you asked. So, Britain is saying that they want to build their own homegrown rival to OpenAI. I didn't want to laugh, oh, but I mean, like, no, don't laugh, don't laugh. You have to respect people's hustle. I maybe just to say my own thoughts. Like sometimes, there's a way you announce something that maybe it's the press that did not announce it well, but there's some things that you just do. You know the Nike swoosh, just do it. Don't come and talk.
No,
Just
don't do press conference for it.
exactly. Just do it. Yeah. Because nobody's waiting for you. You really can't. And I mean, for me, the other thing that is like a personal thing for me, I don't set up strategies as competition. Meaning, can you see me? Can you hear me? Tony, you're frozen. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I can.
You're frozen. You're frozen. Okay, you're back now. So
Yeah.
for me, I don't set up competition as a strategy, meaning I don't say that I want to set up something and the reason I want to set up is to beat something, if you get what I mean. So it
Yeah.
could be media, PR, communication to get our attention, which they've gotten. But yeah, let's discuss it. What are your thoughts?
Um, I'm sorry for British nationals who hear this, but it just sounded like something the Nigerian government will say. Um,
Yes. No,
what
but
I
that's
heard is
disrespect. No, 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 no. I'm angry. Why are you collecting stray bullets here? Who did we do? How did you bring us into this? No. Find
no,
another thing
no,
to
no.
say.
I mean, it just sounds like something the Nigerian government will say. It sounded very third world. I'm sorry.
Oh
It sounded very,
wow.
very third world. It's because I mean, we know that fifth generation computer, all of that. There's almost, I mean, IT world is also a place where there's not too much advantage that countries have over another because these things are regenerating every time,
Yes.
and so you have a new technology that catches onto the world, and then you can shoot you up. And like you said, in fact, if you go and look at statistics in terms of number of businesses and billionaires leaving the UK, moving far east and America. I was listening to a statistic somebody shared recent that there were about 80 delistings from the London Stock Exchange,
Exchange.
and that the only exchange that seemed to be gaining traction is NYSE. So, there's a bigger problem.
Yes. There
There's a
is.
bigger issue that you haven't dealt with or you're not looking at, and you are
Yeah.
picking the symptoms, right? And then you say you want to There's something that is attracting people there. And if it's attracting the guys who will innovate, right? The guys who will fund the innovation, if it's attracting them to go there, then you are, that's why I said it's sounding very much like
Mm.
something coming from the Nigerian government. So I'm sorry that stray bullets will cut people, but it
But
is
I
what
mean,
it is.
yeah, but it is what it is, right? And I like something you highlighted because we do have members in the community that are based in the UK, and one of the challenges that they have is, I mean, in fact, let me even put it like this, right? I don't know if you heard about the fool.uk, fool.com. It's like a stock and analysis website, right? So I sign up to these things just to keep abreast of analysis of global stocks because I mean it's very broad. At a point, I had to cancel my subscription to the
And
U.
one is filled with US information.
Yes, the UK one is filled with US information. Like they are recommending stocks to you and you're sending it to the US. So at a point, I was like, why am I paying in pounds? Why am I
What am I
paying
doing
70
here?
pounds every year to these people when they are telling me about US stocks? Right?
Guess what? On the back of what you just said, so I just finished a program in Manchester, right? And there was a course I took, which was practical investing, you know, and it was really around wealth management. It's the client was supposed to deal with is a UK client. This conversation is around a UK investor, blah blah blah. But
They're
guess
sending
what?
them to the US.
Ninety
Yes.
percent of everything that was curated for this person came from the
Yes.
US. So clearly, which is why I said there is something that is fundamental
Yes.
that is underlying that you need to
It's
deal with. It's not this.
Yes, and I think that is really it because the the UK economy is actually not growing. It's going around in circles. I mean, it's true. It's true. It's a Nigerian thing. UK people, we greet you. We can see just that if you have lights, you have good roads, it's working.
It's just 6 hours away, so
Exactly.
there's that.
That's the difference here, but we can see the moves, we can see what's happening. And then we're moving on to Africa. Like if you are just joining us for the first time, please connect with us. Please say hi in the comments and all, and we'll be sure to pop up your name. And then we're going to Africa now. Ethiopia launches its first stock exchange in 50 years. I think there was a time when I think the NGX, that the Nigerian, what's it called? Nigerian Stock Exchange, supported them at some point in setting up this exchange. I think we talked about that in the news, right? Because Nigerian Stock Exchange is quite established. Well, it's the UK problem. But yet we have been here for a while, a really long while. So what do you think about this in terms of the impact? What impact does having a stock exchange have on the country itself, on the global economy in respect to that, with respect to that country?
So first off, I would say I was very surprised, hearing that they were just having that, and the investor in me just went up like, okay, so what opportunities are likely to be there, growing or developing market. I wasn't even aware that the NGX assisted them in doing that. I was looking at it from, oh, what opportunities would then open up even for Nigerians, probably even from a career perspective. Is there the opportunities to move into? But while looking at it, I think I saw that their sovereign wealth fund, sort of bettered that move, and I know that they are the ones behind their airline, which is probably the best in
Yes.
Africa. So maybe we can see um, that things will likely be done well. I've been there before, and I know that they're not exactly too different from us. And I also know that they've also got their forex issues around supply and all of that. So maybe, I mean, step in the right direction. Like I said, I'm shocked that they're doing this just now. I think Ethiopia is the only country that wasn't colonized,
Yeah, yeah.
if I'm not. So it's shocking that you haven't
Stepped up to
done
this level
this,
since. What have you been waiting for?
yeah. Yeah, but clearly it's positive for that economy, and because now you have participation, local and foreign. I do not know if there are too many institutions there that would, offer that value. I know that sometime in the past, Dangote had an issue with to be able to repatriate profits that have been made from there. So they also have these forex
issue.
issues in terms of being able to move money out. So will this help in further expanding the market? I think yes. At what speed and what opportunities will then be open is something that one will need to look for. That I don't have as much information beyond
What is
all
available at
of
the
that.
time?
But yes, it's a good step.
Yes, it is a good step. And I mean, just to highlight the impact of having a stock exchange, right? Generally, what it means is that if you, as a foreign investor, by foreign, I don't necessarily mean out of Africa investor, as an African investor, but not in that country. So you are a foreign investor. If you wanted to invest in a business that was viable, the only way you could do that was to go to the business, get a consultant, do due diligence, blah, 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 blah. But when you have companies that are listed on the exchange, what it does for you to get listed, there are usually minimum requirements. There are minimum reporting
Possibility,
requirements, minimum standards, minimum
pressures.
size. So companies that want to access that market are forced to step into those levels. Now, for you as a foreign investor, it is an easier way to get into businesses in that country. So, what having an exchange does is that it exposes companies in the country that can meet up to the standard to a bigger pool of liquidity, even from local investors, right? Because you now become more visible, blah blah blah. So it's a growth tool. It's a policy, or it's a structure, a system that opens up the business environment or business climate to bigger money, basically. So it's good, and so we are looking forward to the opportunities. Maybe we'll start investing in Ethiopian stocks very soon. Let's see how that goes. And then finally, Kenya solidified some trade deals with UAE. I think I want to talk about this from two angles. UAE has been in the news. I don't even know where they are going. These people are going somewhere. They are actually going somewhere. The kind of moves they are making, they are actually going somewhere, right? And so maybe my first question to you is that where do you think they are going? What is their game? Are they trying to become a world power? What do you think their game is? UAE first, and then what is this deal about, and what impacts? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I think if you expand beyond the UAE, so UAE are taking the first move in terms of liberalizing their
Yes,
market. So the market in the Far East is usually,
close.
something not too far from their culture, so it's usually kind of close. But they've taken that leap a long time ago, liberalizing their market because they have leadership that has got vision, that sees the bigger picture, and they've wound that around tourism. But I think if you look just to the side, between them and Qatar on one side, and then there's Big Brother Saudi Arabia on another side, who's also trying to do very big things. So, which is why competition sometimes can be, very good, healthy
Yeah,
competition. And so, what you then find is a push to move your frontiers from where you currently are to other areas. Africa is resource rich, and Africa is and always is the bride, right? I think the only challenge is that Africa doesn't negotiate those terms, correctly most of the time. So the granular details of this arrangement, this pact with Kenya, we do not know, or I do not know yet. But I would think that there should be a win-win situation. Kenya is not too far from UAE, and in fact, loads and loads of Kenyans are in the UAE. So yes, they have this relationship. For it's been there for a very long time. But this clearly is now formalizing things to say you will do this for me,
Good
I will
for
do this
you.
for you, and we'll be able to have economic growth on, on the back of that. Especially because the West is the West in the past has been tied so much to America.
And America is not trying to integrate
With a
Nigeria.
Trump
Yes,
emergence, there's going to be less of that support that will come from America. So really, and maybe allow me at this point to also give the Nigerian government some credit, because we will also see that in the past 1 year plus that they've been going out shopping for partnerships. They've moved
from
in that
standard.
direction. So maybe they probably saw that this is going to happen and they're taking their position. I mean, I think I saw in the news as well. There is a one of those nations. Either, I mean, we've seen the one from China. I think there's one from India or from the UAE who is also built to visit Nigeria
Yes,
to further
strengthen
go on this talk. So Kenya may have taken the first, step in terms of solidifying an agreement, but I think there's one also in the works for Nigeria. The only hope here on this side is that we hope that those deals were correctly done,
favor
to
the
favor,
people.
our own economy as well. But clearly, there's a lot of capital flowing out of that. In fact, remember, I don't know if you're aware, Qatar calls itself the capital of capital.
Really?
You know, and yeah, and Qatar is in the UAE, right? I mean, I mean, they had the conference sometimes last year, and they call themselves the capital of capital. So
There's
there's oil
liquidity.
money, yeah,
Plenty of
and,
liquidity.
and yeah, and so now they are saying, look, we also want to expand our frontiers. Who can we work with? And we know
Africa.
that, I mean, will continue to be friends with them, in the West. But if you are going to get value that you are really looking for, you probably need to look down this way. And maybe, just maybe, Africa will be dealt a better, not so much at the shorter end of the stick than it was dealt when you had to deal with the West. So yeah. I mean, it's a developing area, but I think there's more to come from there in terms of partnership, between the East and Africa,
Yeah,
starting with
with
Kenya.
Kenya.
It
Yeah,
seems.
and I think also Kenya, and I mean maybe just because we're about to end, right? But I think it's something that as Africans we need to be aware of. We need to be more involved in the policy driving conversations. A lot of times, a lot of business people, a lot of individuals, they just focus on their business, but don't look at the policy side of things. It is very, 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 very important, because I mean, like you just said, a lot of the policies and the agreements that were made with the Brits and the Americans didn't necessarily favor us. They were just very lopsided, right? For whatever reason. I mean, we know there could be things behind it. However, as these new policies are being drafted and being created, and a lot of times, apart from like the bigger policies, there'll be like a policy around fashion or policy around food or trade. This is like the big one that'll be obvious, but there'll be those smaller things under it. Depending on what sector you are in, right? You need to find out where these things are being drafted. One easy thing might be NESG in Nigeria, for example, but you need to get involved because it's human beings and it's to the extent that they know, right? And we need to start thinking that way because this policy, this is like it's a new wind, and these things would actually impact economies in the next 30 to 40 years. And they will not start saying that who was the person that was there when they were signing this thing. So it's very, very important to note. On this note, we're coming to the end of this session. Thank you so much, Tony. We always love having you because your insight is always
Very
very,
good.
very valuable. Thank you to everyone that stayed till the end. Please don't forget, share with your friends. The link is in the description. We have a free webinar on the 1st of February. We're talking more about it as we go along. But yes, it's a free webinar on where and how to invest in 2025. And we look forward to seeing you and your friends, your family, your community. Link is in the description. Follow us on social media. And you can see the flyers and stuff to share with your friends. Thank you so much, Professor Tony.
Please assist
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. And bye, everyone.
me.